All right, boys. Can Christians swear?
I feel like that's too long for a short already.
Can they? Do they? Should they? All these different questions. All right, let's try to make this a short segment.
Swear, Steve?
Do I swear? Sometimes.
No. I would say Christians fundamentally misunderstand swearing, but still shouldn't. To be clear, what I mean by that is I think the Bible is clear that the Bible calls it unwholesome talk, depending on what translation you're using. But don't let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth. Things that aren't good or edifying, that we shouldn't be saying those things. And that's a very high bar. That's a bar that's way higher than just swearing. But I think that's probably the best argument against it.
Okay. I suppose, is there any difference to swearing? No, we're not talking about, I guess, taking God's name in vain, but is there any difference from, I guess, dirty talk or talking foolishly? I'm just asking the question.
No.
I'm asking the question here because it's curious.
I'm laughing.
It's just like, yeah.
Well,
But is there any difference? Is that considered just as bad then?
Like,
Because that's not wholesome talk.
Like with your wife.
I don't think that's what he meant.
I wasn't in general. I was like, what is going on? No. I'm talking. Yeah. I think you've broken me. I'm just talking about in general, like, you know, you can have crude humor. Maybe that's a better way to say it.
Yes.
Yeah,
How did I
that's
say
what
dirty
she said.
talk?
You said dirty talk.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I meant crude humor. As in,
Yeah.
could that be considered just as bad as swearing or talking?
It's probably worse. As in,
It's
like,
worse. So
as
is
in,
it
like,
not wholesome talk?
Like if you swear, like, is this a passing word? Like, and often, at least I find in like most of it's somewhat descriptive. Like, as in, like, that was like a bad situation, but you use a different word. Like,
It has some
it's somewhat
communicative utility.
Yeah, it's not just like, oh, F that, or like, you know, like just like random stuff like that. But I think like dirty talk, as you say, Matt.
Sorry, I wasn't thinking of it that way.
Crude humor.
Crude humor is probably the better way.
Is
to put
probably
it.
worse because you're like normally, at least like, and like, yeah,
Because the subject matter is then
you're insinuating stuff most of the time. But it's
problematic,
not
yeah.
like you're explicitly just like, for bam, it's like, oh, that's what she said, or like,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's like layers to it, so you've actually almost got to think about it. Like your mind's got to kind of stop, think about it for a minute, and then keep going. Like, I don't know. So it's probably worse in that regard.
Yeah, and the Bible actually talks about coarse jesting is the expression that's used in there that it shouldn't be a part of our conversation. And so I think I'd say it's grouped together. Worse probably because it actually comes from like it requires you to say, as you say, you're thinking about something that's bad. You're not just using it as an expression, which is a different kind of thing.
Yeah.
Something here that I think is worth pointing out as well. I don't believe that the third commandment is a good explanation, or like a lot of people point to that and say, oh, well, that rules out, you know, using God's name in vain, like, you know, using Jesus' name as a swear word or whatever. And I actually don't think that's what the commandment is referring to primarily. I don't think we should do that. I think the Bible's clear enough that those are bad things, but I think that's a bad argument that a lot of Christians use.
Yeah.
I'd say the passage is much more interested in, or the third commandment is much more interested in us taking the name of God, or saying, yeah, we are God's people, and then doing things that are out of character with God.
Character, yeah. That's it.
So, if we don't behave like Christians, but then say we're Christians, is that breaking the third commandment?
I believe so. And the first time I saw it that way, I found that terrifying.
That is terrifying. Yeah.
Well, because it's like in the relationship to God, like
section.
part of the section. So that's how we represent.
Yeah, which is one of those things, you know. I mean, you've got kids. Can you imagine as they grow up, you know, they're representatives of the De Rossi household, and they go out and act like fools.
Yeah, it makes you look like a bad parent.
Yeah, it makes you look like a horrible parent, you know.
And they're associated with that, you know.
Yeah. And so God's dealing with the same thing, just with 8 billion children